hopefully this section won't be very long now. I know it has been quite an intense, almost 2.5 hours, but hopefully this will be a quick one. So one of the things which you should notice when, I guess, your consolidations, I just want to understand from your point of view what it is. Do you have your local currency and also a translation into another currency? Your consolidations, I guess you have, or you have a potential to have that. So if that's the case, then currency configuration comes in. It's not only just about because you are doing your rollups, but it's also just the generic setup of your currencies. So in essence, what we have is the configuration already exists, and when you do your configuration, you have got all your currencies, then you have got all your rate providers, the exchange rates, and the types and the exchange rates. And all this effectively falls into place, because what we have in V8, we have got your usual setup, and then you have everything related to the rate providers. You have got everything related to the exchange rates, and this is a combination of everything you have. So at the moment, if ever you're going to import the exchange rate in V8, you're going to be using an ETL, and you can even automate that with a task runner. And it's still the same logic. If for any instance the table is not updated, transaction will pull up the last exchange rate. So it's still the same. Each combination of interest of rate types from whatever currency to that can be also stored daily. Then, of course, when you come to your GL books, it's still the same thing as well, whereby you have got your standard GL books for a translation point of view when you do your rollups. So there are two things. When you do your AP, if ever you've got AP or AR, or in this case cash accounts, which are non-based currencies, then of course you have your revaluations. Then on the translation comes in when you come to your consolidation. So you have got you also need these options. By that, it means that already you've got all the setups. Again, I'll quickly go through this, but the most important thing is when you've got these setups, you already have them, and this is where the most important part is as well, because when you set up a legal entity, you specify the base currency, the rate. So this happens also to the vendors if you are using vendors, and it's important that the property and entity currency settings are determined to know that are determined by its legal entity and cannot be changed. So once you set up, the same thing you've got in 7S is what you also have here. And then, of course, you have the revaluations, the same rules which you have in 7S.
Sorry, can I interrupt you here? You said that once you set up your the currency of your legal entity, you can change that, but in certain cases, we have conversion of the currency of the legal entity, so you can legally change the currency of the legal entity. How does the system handles that? Do you have to create a completely new entity for it?
So my comment here is property and entity current settings are determined by its legal entity. So if you go to the actual property and you are running the transaction on that property, then you cannot change it on the property, because it's determined by the legal entity, which is what we have on the screen here. So in your case, you are saying that you want to change this base rate to another one. Is that the point? I didn't catch that properly.
Yeah, I mean, it's not very common, but sometimes clients make restructurings and they could change the currency of the entity. Let's say you have GBP here, and let's say the entity starts trading more with euro, and it makes sense for them to change the legal currency of the entity from GBP to euro.
It has got many implications. So more or less, in essence, is that a new legal entity is set up with the correct currency base. Because you are saying that we have got historical transactions which were using the old base rate, base currency. So if you change that, then you're just effectively confusing the system. So a new legal entity is set up, and then you link it accordingly.
I see. Okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
because
Thank you.
yeah. Okay. So in that essence as well is once you have got that, you have your revaluations. This is effectively the current setup. The thing which I want to say here for everyone is these setups is done by the system administrators, but the idea here is for you to see where all this comes in up from when you do your processing, especially the fund accountants, the fund controllers, the approvers and all that, the people who are doing the front end processing. It gives you an overview of what we have. So the underlying themes of translation is still the same. So all this is done. I'm highlighting this because when you look at the roll-ups, when you do your base currency or your currency translation, it is important to note that this setup is very, very, very important. So if ever you've got that setup in 7S, this is what will come over. Now, how does it affect the setup in V8? So like I say, most of this is all related to Voyager administrator. So without boring everyone about it, but for the administrators, what we're just highlighting is the fact that you have got the setup here, and already you know that from a country input point of view, you have got your countries here, which you have set up. On Luxembourg, if you go there, it will have everything. It will have the currency. It will have all the details. And then in terms of currency, you have got there. So this is where you set up your currencies. So at the moment, this is what we have. And then just discussing further what we're just looking at. This is where you have got the rate providers. At the moment, you are using one rate provider based on what I see here. I don't know how, I guess that's what it is. Then you've got these rate types. So you're using just the daily, month end, and the average year to date, and then of course you have got the exchange rates. So in this case, we have got just one provider, and then these are your exchange rates.
So which for each of those things you've just shown us, is the three dots button somewhere where you would do an add if you needed to add a currency or add a country? Is it the options button? Or?
It's here for exchange rate. You can say that it's here, so you can add that. So
okay, and it was the same. Is that the same for all the ones we just looked at?
So this one is just the actions you can do, but when you want to add from what I call mostly from an admin point of view, is just this functionality. So if we go back here, sometimes it's interchangeable. I agree with what you're saying. It's interchangeable, but you can see here. You have got that, and then.
So where is add? Oh, it's just of the extra rows on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you have got the extra rows, but if it's it will always have extra rows. So it's one of those tweaks, or what can I call it? Yeah. So the
but there
same
is always a way to add.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Yes.
Can you import with an Excel file or like an XML file or something like this exchange rates?
If you notice, that's the first thing I specified here, that exchange rates you can use ETLs. Yeah. So there's an ETL for that. And this can be automated with the task runner. Yeah. So you have got that. As long as you know where the location of the file is, then it will be able to do that for you. Yeah. Again, I don't know how currently you are doing it in 7S, but it's more or less the same thing, to be honest. You are doing.
But then can you link it to, let's say, SharePoint or something like this, so where it can find the file, or how would that work, that automation runner, that task runner?
Task runner, effectively, when you set it up, I think it's in short, you should be able to, when you run task runner. I'm not sure about SharePoint. Kyra, help me out on that one. But all I know is you specify the location where your ETL is, and then that will pick
so
up.
It's not,
yeah.
It's not via SharePoint.
Yeah.
It would be an SFTP task, so it would be stored on your SFTP location. From your SFTP, it would be transferred to our file manager, and it would then be imported into Voyager.
Yeah, interestingly, Nikolai, we're looking into that for a different SFTP process right now, but as it stands, I don't actually know what IQEQ's SFTP site is that we're using, so we might have more information on that soon and could use it in this instance.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kyra. So, the other thing, if you notice as well, is I talked about, quickly, I talked about currently, the currency valuation setup and this translation. If you look at the tool which I have just shown in from an administration point of view, slightly, this is one of the few remaining things which you only can do in 7S at the moment, because if you look here, you don't see that. You can do everything except the setting up of that. So at the moment, I'll guess that you already have, if I come, hopefully I'm still able to come to international. Yeah. So if I come here, currency, the exchange rules. So everything else is there, but the exchange rules are still here. So that's the only thing. So you've got your two translation rules, and you only have got one standard one, okay, which is fine. So at the moment, this is the setup is still here. That has not yet been ported to V8. So that's the only difference. So you should just take note of that. I guess because you have already set this up, you don't need to think of setting up in V8. But if you want to make any change or an update at the moment, that's the only particular difference. So in a nutshell, all transactions, they have already been set up, but if you want to do any update, please come here. Then for country information, if ever you want to add any new country at the moment, these are the countries you have. If you want to add any new country information, you just do that, okay? And then one of the things which we're looking at were the books. So this is all here sitting in admin environment, and if you go, you have got system, and then again here you can see the geo books. And then if you search that, you have got your translation books here, which we're talking about. So you have got, by default, you have already set this up, so which is quite good. So in a nutshell, that's current translation. Now, once we are happy with current translation, let's go to the nitty-gritties of what you now is sort of like the core reporting. You have done your transactions, you have processed your journals, you have done your reviews, and then you just want to do your consolidation. So everything then falls back to this. Now, we briefly touched on the consolidation. Again, I usually like to just go through a presentation. The idea is just to do a quick recap and say, okay, guys, what are we having here? So just a moment here. Where is... Okay. Okay. So from a consolidation point of view, again, I know most of you are familiar, but it's always important just to go through the underlying principle. So we talked about current translation. How does it affect our roll-ups? All things being equal, first step of consolidation is we first of all translated and defined exchange rate, and the two is the true translation. So you have got your local currency, your levels, you run that. So when you run that, it's all your usual, your usual, you go to your GL, then you do your translation. And then, of course, you also have the idea that once you do that, all things being equal, you can then run your translation. You can do your roll-ups. So your roll-ups, they are basically three rules, or they are basically three main levels of doing consolidation. You do either full consolidation or equity pickup, minority journals, and then of course the eliminations. So in essence, what you have is you can do the consolidation in your fund currency. If it's just the same, there's no need to do a translation because your structure is all generic. But if for any instances there's a mixture, it's always important to send this to the fund currency. This comes back to the question which you asked and say, oh, can we change the legal entity currency? So if historically you have used a different currency, then it means that all these things are related now. So from a consolidation point of view, you don't want to make that mixture. So you want to keep them separate. So in essence, this is what you have. And then what you have is, again, roll-ups is just everything, full consolidation, equity pickups, and minority. And the most important thing is you also have like the balancing account where you have to make sure that this is all set up. So you have all this set up, but what I'm trying to do here is just to give you an overview. And in essence, we looked at the books, and this is where you have the roll-ups books, the labels, environment labels. We went to the system and GL. You'll be able to do that review. And then, of course, we talked earlier about the rules. We are going to look at these rules. So these rules have already been defined in 7S. So this is where you find them. You go to your investment accounting, the configuration, you go to your capital, you look at the setup, the rules, and everything is there. In essence, once you have got that, it means that your consolidation is able to run. You have got your basic eliminations, you've got your intercompany eliminations, you've got your sideway loan eliminations. In your case, I didn't see you using sideway eliminations in your setup. So I don't know the reason for that, but we'll look at that. So in essence, you have got your usual reversal entries in the source and offset in the target account, and then you also have an elimination book, which is one. Again, this is a summary of what you already do. So what's different is just the look of the screen. So here, the most important thing is you have got the usual intercompany source segments. They are all there. And one other thing which I'm not going to discuss is the sideway loan eliminations because I didn't see you. I'm going to discuss it briefly. Okay, so your current setup is slightly different because you have not in your options you have not done this. But what sideway loan eliminations effectively means is you have loans in both directions. So effectively it allows you to eliminate redundant entries. At the moment, if you don't have that, it means that it's just one directional in terms of target and source. So you effectively create pairs of elimination groups, and this will post your reversing entries. So what am I talking about here to avoid talking rubbish? Let me just quickly go in here. So when you do the setup here, configuration, and you come to the options here, and you come to the roll-ups, it allows you to use sideway eliminations here. So this box will be ticked. So it allows you to do that. I don't know the reason, possibly you don't have that for now, but it's something which needs to be explored. If you tick this, there's also an option package which you need to be loaded if you are going to use that. So for now, I'm not going to spend more time on this, but I'm just saying there is that option if you want to activate that. But for now, I'll leave it as that from a setup point of view. because what you have currently works. So it's the same setup which you have here.
Can I just add on that? So, for the entities that we do have the loans at the property level between the property entities, they kind of roll up to the same book, and we're using that as the elimination. But what benefit would it be to have the sideway loan elimination instead of it rolling up the way?
Okay, sideway eliminations occurs when, like I say on the screen, company X might lend to company Y, and then loans can go in both directions. Okay, so when you set up the eliminations, you will say, let me give you a typical example. Company X, we have, let's say, current account receivable. Current X, Y will be have current account payable. On the other side, you might have current company X intercompany loan payable to Y, and Y will have that. But from a hierarchy point of view, this is how it will look like. Okay? So what it means is you have got all things being equal. If you don't have the sideway elimination, you are not able to perform this elimination here, this sideway. That's why it's called sideway. Yeah, you are doing currently, like the example you gave is, you are doing this way, up, down, like up and down like that on that side. You are not able to that. So it means that when it goes, it just goes that, and when you come here, it will just do the elimination there, rather than at that level sideways. Let's say if it is what do you call it, same level. So that is not happening, it will just happen in that. The reason most people don't use sideway elimination, they are not interested in what happens at that level, because they are not running consolidation, but they're just running at fund level there. So whatever happens there is not a problem as long as everything eliminates there. But
yeah, that's
yeah, so that might be the reason why you have got that. But for some people, it's very important to have that sideway eliminations, because they might run reports at that level for management point of view. They don't want to have intercompanies there. They just want to make sure they are eliminated and also at that level down there. This is why we have got that sideways elimination. That's what it basically means, sideways, not, yeah.
Okay. So yeah, it's useful if you need to run at that level, but if not, you're normal.
Yeah, it will continue as normal. It will not eliminate it, will just eliminate at that level. So this is what it says, unexpected results at detailed level, and then it might lead to that also unexpected entries in the balancing account if ever there is a consolidation being run at that level. But that, so this is the enhanced roll-up. That's the idea. Okay. So from a consolidation point of view, then what we are saying is, once we have this thing, it's very important that you set this up correctly, which obviously you have already done, and the rules are already here. Okay, so you've got all these rules which you are running. So I don't want to overemphasize this, but I just want to highlight that the fact that you have got these and they've already been attached to appropriate commitments, then that's fine. The only thing is, if you want to add a new rule set, you are able to do that. If you want to delete it, you are able to do that. So there is that functionality. So from a consolidation point of view, you have got all this. So the rules are there. Then that's quite important. So in a nutshell, then what does this mean? That means you have got that. And remember, when we do the investor reporting, I looked at these particular reports, but that's fine, because this is just to show you the transactions which has happened from investor reporting, the capital balances, which I think you said you are going to explore later. But the reason I'm showing this is because you can then look at the transactions and say, okay, which transactions are going to eliminate from an investor or investment point of view, you can run this particular report. But the most important thing is, when we look at the dashboard, which we looked at earlier, is the fact that you have the consolidation. So how do you run the consolidation? The consolidation, running it from the dashboard, is very easy. All you do is you can come here, and depending on the list you have, or if you are just running the consolidation at that level, as long as everything is done here, you can then come and just say, okay, I just want to run the consolidation there. And then you can do whatever you want to do. The action is still the same. You can post the roll up. So if I run that, it will automatically run the roll up, and I will be able to then see the consolidation being run. And I did it in a big way, so it's going to take some time, but you can also run it as a background task. So what it means is you can run this consolidation, then it will run it for you. Okay, so for now I think it's a big consolidation. I don't know how big it is, but I'll leave it for now. So the most important thing is, when we come to the dashboard, when you have got that, then the roll-up status will be updated. And if you come here, configuration, you can always at any point in time just click here, update your roll-ups, and then you can just specify what entities you want to update their status. Because you have run your consolidation, you just want to do that. But you don't have to do that all the time, because once you run the consolidation, you already have here, not here, sorry, you already have over here a background task. So you can automatically do your task. So you can see that, for example, Kyra yesterday did all the consolidation roll-ups. So already we have got that, and it will tell you, okay, I ran those consolidations, all of them ran correctly, there was no error. So it allows you to look at it, and then all your consolidations will show to say if there's an error or anything. And then if it's for a particular group already, for those people we have got certain groups, you can also set it by filter. So the filter is quite very useful. So running the consolidation is quite straightforward, and it's quite at the moment it's running because I've set it up. It's quite intuitive. So you can run the consolidation there, here, on a particular level which you want, or you can just come and under here, accounting, under accounting, you can come and roll up, and then you can choose the details you want to run. So in essence, the consolidation itself is quite straightforward in V8. There's nothing complicated. Possibly the main thing will be just to make sure that on your configuration the roll-ups are up to date, they've been attached to the correct commitments. Okay. So if I come back here and effectively look at what we have just covered, you will see that the roll-up, very simple. You can either go directly to that, and if you run everything, it will show that it has been completed. And once it's completed, it's fine. The other thing as well is, if for any reason the consolidation you have run is not what you expect, as always, you can manage your roll-ups here. So you can just come in admin toolbox, and then you can just delete the roll-up and say, okay, I ran this roll-up for this entity. So you run it at the top level, whatever. You then specify which post month it is, and then if you display it, if you display that, let's hope this January. Yeah, at the moment There's no.
That's a prop call, so there's probably not going to be anything here.
Okay. Thank you. So again, you can test that. So I should have asked and say which entity level we have, and then run that, but it will show that particular level of consolidation. But the idea is, I think hopefully you see the idea is you've got that toolbox to do that. So in a nutshell, the consolidation itself is very easy to perform. Then if you want to show the status of the status of your consolidation, it's easy. You just come here, you just build the status. Okay, I'll just do that, and it's just effectively rebuilt, and it will show the correct position of saying this is what we have done, these are the consolidations which I've done, and then it will update everything. And once it updates, it will show here the roll-ups of everything, the status. If a roll-up has not been done for that particular period, it will then show as incomplete. And for investors, because you are not running any consolidation, you can see that it's not showing that because you have not attached anything there at that time. Even if some people use equity pickup to show the share of the investor. So in your case, you are not using that possibility. And then, of course, that's the completion of on roll-ups. So in a nutshell, again, this is it. The most important thing which I just want to specify is when we look at that, we have got what we call best practices. So if for any reason you are running a roll-up, there's always a reason of saying what is best to do. Do I do the roll-up or I just delete and start again? So standard practice is this happens when basically there are changes to existing commitments, there are changes to that. So in most cases, we recommend that if there are new transactions and new commitments which are totally new or new transaction, then you can just do a roll-up. So they need to do a delta. But if for any other reason you are having to change existing commitments, there are changes to roll-up, it's always recommended just to delete the last roll-up, especially for large structures, because it's very difficult to trace that the delta. So you just delete the last roll-up, like I say, the toolbox, and then you run it. And the most important thing as well is to use a task runner so that you see, like what I did, I tried to run the roll-up at the top level and it was taking time. So it's always good to just optimize performance, and this usually helps to eliminate risk. Then of course you can run by book lists. So especially if you are running currency translation, so it's always good to just create a book list of currency translation. That way, when you run your consolidation, your roll-ups, you don't have to choose different books. But good practice, once you have got those book lists, you can do that. So
in essence, the SMI, the book list.
Okay, I'm going to look at SMI shortly. Okay.
Okay.
So now.
Yeah, sorry, I just have a quick question regarding the deleting of the roll-ups. Who normally has the access to do this one? Because in our current process, the reviewers and the preparers doesn't have an access to delete the roll-ups. So for the Voyager 8, what should be the best practice for us?
I think that's for us to decide.
Exactly. And one most important thing is, I think most of currently you are doing real roll-ups. Possibly there's a reason why you are doing that. So that's something which I cannot answer for you. You just need to do a review yourselves and see which ones it is. Yeah. Yeah, but for large,
You've
very large
actually-
structures, yeah, for very large structures, let's say you run at the top level. If I look at your particular example, you run at the top level here. Definitely, it's a big structure if it's coming from down there. So if you just do rerun, you've made changes to the rules, like I say, you've made changes to the existing commitments, then you have to make a call. But if, like I say, the best practice is, like I say, it's just something which you just need to review internally, in short, without it overcomplicating my explanation. Yeah. Okay. So that's roll-ups, and I'm going to do a crash course in Service Manager interface. Okay. The good thing about Service Manager interface in V8 is the fact that you don't have to worry about what level you perform certain things. So when you look at Service Manager interface, it's effectively, we are saying we are trying to automate processes which are helpful in your day-to-day practices. So instead of overcomplicating things and say, oh, I want to, for example, to do a geo-allocation, I want to post amortization schedules, I want them to perform roll-ups, and then I want to perform currents translation, I want to perform currents revaluation. All in all, this can be set up at a particular level you want to perform certain things. So if, for instance, we are saying, okay, we want to perform consolidation at that level, okay, the good thing is you can go to that entity, okay, and under that entity, you've got what are called associations. And under association, we've got information here. So there are three things which are important here. So for example, you want to perform a task, consolidation, or you want to post amortization. You guys, you don't have fixed asset register at the moment, but I'll just give it. So you can then decide how often you are doing, let's say, your consolidation. So I can say, okay, we want to do it monthly or quarterly. So in most cases, people would just say monthly. Okay, so if I close that, you find that once I have chosen, that, Kyra, help me. I think I'm not seeing everything here. Okay. I'll do a quick change here. Just forgive me. I'll just do a quick change here. There's something which I just want to see. Okay. Right. Okay. Just a moment here, please. I'll just quickly stop sharing for a moment. It seems we have not yet completely do that. Okay, let me just quickly do this.
I might just grab this little break whilst we're working on that to catch everyone whilst we're on. So given that we still need to create roles and assign them to users, it's not going to be possible to do any user acceptance testing that we planned today. So 29 of you will have an invite in your diaries for this afternoon, but you can ignore that, and we'll spend some time this afternoon trying to get those live active users on EMEA to be set up correctly with an appropriate role that will allow them to start looking at this hopefully from after the next training session. So yeah, I'll keep you all up to date on that, but thanks for your patience, and we'll do that as soon as we can.
Thank you. So I'll quickly cover this. Sorry.
Is that, sorry, just to check, that session at 1 o'clock is not going to head this afternoon, it will reconvene
Exactly.
tomorrow at 9. Okay.
exactly.
So, okay. So, what when we have this session tomorrow, I'll pick this up. But what I just wanted to say is the setup in your system. I just want to pick up with Kyra to make sure that we update that at the moment, because from a high level, I just want to show you how then SMI happens. So I've got an example here. So you set up the frequency and say, okay, I want it to be done monthly at the level of the fund. Then you can just specify the steps and say, okay, for this, I want it to post depreciation. Then you can set up that, and you can set up the list. Then you can also set up and say, okay, I want it to also have translations, and then it will perform the translations from euro to whatever. And also if you have got GBP and all that. So you can have all this. And then once you are finished, you can set up a task and say, okay, I want it to then do a roll-up consolidation. Then there are other things you can do as well. For example, you have got your fees, calculations, and all that, or you have got enough calculator, you can have that. So what does this do? This gives you the ability to specify the task. So what type of task can you look at? Okay, so this type of task which you can look at are easy to identify. So these are the tasks which you can currently do. So you can set up a task automatically to do your translation. You can do it your geoallocations. You can use it for roll-ups. You can do it for a calculator. So calculator is there are two types of calculator, the calculator and the IM calculator. You can do that. Then if, for example, you've got a custom task or a custom stores procedure, you can do this. So what does it allow you to do? It allows you to determine a few things. You don't have to go frantically to the front end and do it. You can just come, because you have set up the task, you can just come and run your SMI your SMI task. So this is the beauty of having Service Manager interface, that the tasks which you manually had to do from the front end or with various task runner, you are now consolidating them into one at a particular level. And once you have got that, then all things being equal, your SMI will be able to run automatically. Now, it is important that, I don't know at the moment if you've got SMI in 7S.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
They do.
So,
They deployed it on Friday, which is why the setup,
okay.
the restore,
Okay.
and the...
Oh, okay, all right, okay, I get it, Kyra. So if you have got that, you can see this is the flip side in V8. So once you start using that in V8, automatically it will port over what you have. Automatically you can port over what you have in there to V8. So in a nutshell, I know we are past time, 4 minutes. Oh, it was a long session, but hopefully it was helpful. I just want to open this to the floor for any questions for me and Kyra whilst we are here for this session.
Just on quickly on the IM calculator, is that your IM batches, your income batches, your income allocation batches?
IM calculators.
No, so this is a
effectively-
slightly older version of the SMI, because you guys have an additional step.
Okay.
Yeah. Good, thank you, Kyra.
You also, I saw that you had there like customized options in the settings, like from rollups, translation, and then I think I saw something like customization. What can that do?
You have got, I don't know from an admin point of view what you have. So these are just like your task runner, various task runners you can do. So you can set up any task here, and then you just specify the usual, the class and that. So you have, I think, let me quickly show this if everyone is fine with that. APP task. So in the past in 7S, you have, let's say, this. Sorry, can you see this?
Yeah.
Yeah. So all these various tasks which you can do. So you've got all these tasks, so you can set them up in Task Runner. Let me make it bigger. Okay, so you've got all the various tasks which you can do here. So you can do all sorts of things. You can, in your case, you can do close month, close properties. You can do all sorts of things here. So these are the various tasks. So there are many things you can do there, as long as they are not to do with the calculator or anything. You can do current translation is just a custom, is an example as well. Although I've set it up in my example, that's also something you can set up. So these are the various things. You should have this, I think. So it depends. Even ETLs, you can also load ETLs, import ETLs. Like what Kyra was saying, you have got STPF, SFTP set up, so you can just say, okay, I want to import that from that particular directory. Everything can be done as a task, so you include that as part of your SMI. So there are quite a few things you can do. You can just look at this particular guide of the various tasks you have. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other question? I know it's we have gone past that, but I just want to make sure we have this covered. If not, for tomorrow's session, I think we've got another session tomorrow. More or less we've covered everything, so tomorrow will be more or less like a testing session, if I'm not mistaken. Or there are certain issues which people want us to cover again, I'm more than happy to do that.
Yeah, I would
We're happy to do. Go ahead, Ish.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, mine would be just to cover a little bit of the VAT process to see if it's any different in V8, to run the VAT return, the VAT reports.
Okay.
How that look at V8.
Yeah. So what I would suggest then, it's just for you to just send me some of the things which you think I've missed in a list, so that for tomorrow I'm prepared for tomorrow to go through that as well as anything else. Yeah. But I guess it won't be a long session tomorrow, because most of it is covered today. Hopefully we then make that revision, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. If there's no question, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you the presentations which I've done, and then hopefully with the help of, if you need our help from our side, Kyra and myself, in terms of setup of users, more than happy to assist. And hopefully by tomorrow, with the help of Kyra, we'll be able to make sure that the SMI is already set up in our test environment, the two other steps which we're missing. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.